Welcome to my channel, everybody. My name is Paul. I'm a country realtor near Waynesboro, Virginia. Big fan of homesteading, and I'm going to talk to you guys about, do you want to build your own home, have it contracted out, and so on? Well, I got some really great books here to share with you about the process of building a home and designing a home and so on. So let's get right into it here. First of all, when you get some land, you're going to need some land. And here's one expert. You can look this guy up on YouTube. Pat Porter. When you go out and buy land, a lot of people want to build a home on a piece of property, so I have some other videos talking about how to buy land and look for good quality land to build your home on. But once you decide and buy some land, there's a whole process that you need to understand of how the buildings are constructed and the process of organizing all the various contractors and the timing and so on and the various building codes and so on. So this one book here, How to Save 25% Without Lifting a Hammer, Be Your Own House Contractor. Now, I didn't read this whole book, but I scanned through it, and it's pretty simple, and it has a lot of really helpful information about the process of getting contractors to show up and so on, negotiate with them for price. So that's one book here. The Well-Built House. You know, you can build all kinds of different houses, and they may not be very well built, but around here in Virginia, sometimes you see some old houses that are over 200 years old. And wow, if they're still standing after 200 years, they must have been built well. So this book here, you can see the name of the author here, Jim Locke. It's just fantastic about details about everything you need to know before building a new house or remodeling. Again, about dealing with the contractors and the type of construction and how homes are built. Great book. One more book here, Be Your Own Architect. You know, it's very expensive to go out and hire an architect to design a house. So, because it might cost, like $15,000 in a few months of someone's time to get them to work on your design. So, one thing you can do is you get a book like this and you try to find out a little bit about how architects work, the things that they do, the kinds of drawings that they make, and how those drawings convey to the contractors how to build certain things. They have to have a good language that they can communicate with the builders and the architects. So there's designs and specifications and dimensions, and you've probably seen this. There's a lot of software programs out there you can buy to help you design a house or so on, but it really helps to understand. You know, here's a section about elevations, and sometimes people try to build on land that's still a bit too steep or something like that. So really a great book. Again, along the lines of architects, blueprint reading. You may not have to be an expert on blueprints, but I'll tell you what, if you know, I took a class in computer-aided design one time, long time ago in the 80s, and they told us that every single thing that is built needs a drawing. It's amazing, like even a screw or a hammer or everything. So contractors and architects work with blueprints, and it's helpful to know a little bit about it. So you can understand the whole process. Again, a book about blueprints. The Art of Construction, that author there. Now, this has a lot of information about just the concepts of how various kinds of structures distribute their weight. And again, you know, from a bridge to the joiners or the rafters in your house, there's all kinds of various geometry involved in engineering. And you know, if you're going to get a house built, some people really want to have a beautiful custom house made, and it really helps to understand a little bit about the engineering that goes in and the footings and the foundations and how they support things and all that. Great book here, Eco House Book by Terence Conran. Now this book here has a lot of fantastic pictures about the way people have been creative about designing their home. Now, if you look about this as like a screened-in porch deck kind of thing overlooking a stream, oh my God, that's beautiful. And I look at a lot of beautiful homes, but I'll tell you what, some of them they're not very creative. they may be costing $900,000, but they don't have like really great architecture involved and design features. It's just kind of standard, like run-of-the-mill, frame houses. But you can also make the outside of your home eco-friendly, take advantage of natural materials in your environment right around your home, the timber, the trees, and the rocks, and the water features, and so on. So again, a really great book. I suggest you try to find this book. It's really cheap. You can probably find a used one somewhere, but get a book like this because it just gives you so many great ideas of how to build your own house in a really attractive way that enhances the value. Another interesting book, Living Color, Using Feng Shui. Now, this is another beautiful book. A lot of people don't know much about Feng Shui, but basically the concept is the movement inside your home and the kind of colors that you use and the angles and where sun can come in. If you have an eastern facing window, for example, that's really beautiful. If you have a southern facing window, sometimes that's really beautiful. Look down a valley or something. So, but also has the colors and the way the energy flows in a home or a structure of any kind. And it has a lot of concepts that are based on some Oriental teaching and so on. And it gets a little interesting if you get into detail about it, but there's a lot of really well-known and famous people and great architects who understand how to design a home and a structure so that the flow of what you're doing in that structure matches the structure itself and so on. So again, look up books around Feng Shui, the art of color, and so on. So beautiful thing to explore. One more book here, Home, the Complete Manual of Home Maintenance, Repair, and Improvement. Now, I've mentioned other books like this in other videos, but boy, this got details about heating and cooling and all kinds of interesting stuff and diagrams about foundations and footings and so on. Again, it really helps to know how your house is put together, because during the development of homes from the 1900s or the 1800s, a lot of different changes. The same principles apply for foundations and structure and so on and windows, but the techniques and the building materials changed over the years. And sometimes you can buy a really beautiful old house that is simple, like the one I'm living in is 1946. And it's basically a really simple house that has very few things can go wrong with it. And I have books like this to help me in the maintenance of my own property here, because there's about 8 structures on this property here. One more book here, The Home Building Process. Now this is also another really important book to understand. I read a lot of this book here, and it helped me understand the process of, there's certain things that have to be done first in building a home. You got to build a foundation, you might have to do some excavation, you might have to set up some drainage, where the septic's going to be, where the well's going to be, and it really helps to understand how all these different contractors work together and what your role is, because you don't want to get in the way of your contractor and disturb them or be a pain in the neck, but it helps to understand the process from the point of view of the contractors that are doing the work, because sometimes they have regulations and so on that they got to cooperate with, and they might there's a certain procedure, like you can't do the electrical before you do the foundation. So if the foundation isn't done because of rain, then delays everything. So there's a really good thing to understand the process. Again, this book here, look it up on Amazon or some of those kind of places. Couple more books here quickly. Trellises and Arbors. Again, enhance your property. You can build some of these things yourself and put like a rough structure, like an arbor, and have plants growing around it, and it just adds so much to your property. Because again, I've seen suburban developments that are just, they could be a $900,000 home, but they're just so boring, and the landscaping is just like, okay, like a Lego land. They have a little fir tree over here, and a little bit of bush over here, and so on, and it's not really attractive. So make your property really special and beautiful, and customize it in a beautiful way by learning about how to just build some things. You don't have to learn fancy construction. Sometimes you can just use some hammer and nails and get a friend and buy some cheap tools at a yard sale and build yourself some things like this, you know. So I guess one more book. I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll do it again because I like sundials. Sundials are awesome, and they were around for a long time before we had clocks, and you can still see them. Some really accurate ones in some parts of the world, and you can see some fun ones in big gardens and famous places in the world where they still have a sundial, and it's kind of a fun thing to have. If I look at a property and I see a sundial, it's usually an artistic formation in a garden somewhere, and they have a nice little sundial surrounded by flowers and so on. And I encourage people to just look into it. It's kind of fun because the whole idea of time and so on, again, the flow of how things are, what part of your property faces east and what part of your property faces west and so on. And it's just a fun thing to do. I'm in the process of scouting out a good place for a sundial on my property here. So thanks again for listening. I hope you see some of my other videos. I talk a lot about the process of buying and selling property in a rural area like Virginia, and look at some of my other videos. I watch a lot of people's content. I love the comments, and I'm thinking about a way to give away some of my books because I want to engage with my followers here, and I'm going to think about how I can put some prize winners, maybe the 100th comment or the first comment or something, and you win a book, and I'll ship it to you for free. So anyway, thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you in some of my other content. Please come back and like and share. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.